And we're off. And it's just a bloomerang in our house, and we're out to see what unearthly horrors await us outside. We have an early map check. That looks like a red and blue pendant on Desert and the Tower of Hera, and a crystal on Eastern.
And here we start to see the craziness. There's a firebar and a rotating fireball there. No enemies to kill. I can't do a triple. On the other side, though.
Yep, some shadows and some ghosts. Oh, that's a mimic and a terror pin.
Yeah, this is like how this already messes with your execution. You just have to deal with whatever you see. And so those normal little things you take for granted, like that tree pull, can't always do it.
Yep, and it looks like we have a hula hand set up for Swerb there.
Yep, Swerb's going to grab some rupees to start. DaringRetreat found the bug nets, but not much else in the back or by Uncle.
Alright, and finding nothing in the Uncle, they're noping out. Swerb heading home to find their bloomerang. And it's just a map in Sanctuary right now. There's a BMO statue outside our house. And fish and spikes.
Yeah, this is kind of an evidence of how the Randomizer just can be crazy, because like they can throw about any enemy anywhere. There are some rules, but not a lot.
Yeah, they in kill rooms, or rooms where killing the enemies is what is required to progress. They will not place an enemy that requires a certain item to kill them. So you won't be seeing kill rooms full of terrapins or red Igors.
So yeah, I watched DaringRetreat, and everything he's trying to do as his normal setups would allow, he can't. He's been desperately trying to kill an enemy so he can do a tree pull, and nothing so far.
Yeah, but it looks like not much of anything on the race game. We look in the library to see the magic powder. Definitely one of those locations you don't want to see a fetch quest item like that.
Yeah. So, and at the same time, you would love to see the boots now, grab that powder, because anti-fairies can appear in the worst places in Randomizer.
You know, as we are in normal mode, they still give that safety, which you're going to need, as we expect to see some early deaths here with all kinds of crazy boss room or enemy shenanigans. And one of those... Oh, that's just boring from the chicken hut this time.
Yeah, that is a boring chicken hut. No enemy replacements, because the Cuckoos can be replaced by enemies. They are considered an enemy.
There's all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think to answer a quick question in chat, I think the way the Randomizer works is that it randomizes as normal first, and then it randomizes the enemies. So if a dungeon normally would be locked by bow, I don't think the bow could appear in that area. But I'm not 100% certain on that.
It is what I do believe that it does fill in the items before the enemies. So it's not going to set you up in a enemy soft lock potential. So far, not a whole lot with the Thieves' Hut. We'll head into the Kakariko well, hopefully find something that'll send us in some direction in this seed. Or at least equip us to face the horrors ahead of us, except it looks like we picked up the Ice Rod, and our first lift upgrade, and the Fire Rod. Who wants to fight some Trinex?
I don't think these runners really want to see Trinex just yet. Those rods you see so early, it's all like, oh no, no, no.
Oh, absolutely. And as this is Chaos Boss Shuffle enabled, we could potentially see all the Trinex.
I don't think it's quite that bad. Like, I think there's a couple places Trinex can't appear. Like, I don't think he can appear on Moldorm 1, for example. But, yeah, you could see a lot of Trinex.
But we're definitely not guaranteed to see every boss, and the chances of getting only getting individual is pretty slim.
Actually, one of our helpers here makes a good point. The item randomizer chooses the bosses to ensure that everything can be cleared logically.
And definitely one of the benefits of the logic is to prevent soft lock scenarios, because we need to be able to finish this game, especially in a tournament setting. DaringRetreat will head by the library to see their magic powder just out of their reach.
So we've seen both runners basically cross over through Kakariko. Be interesting to see what they choose to do next. Most runners are thinking this will probably go to South Shore.
Definitely leads them to the more item-dense locations, though they could choose to sequence break the mountain if they wanted to. I think that'd be a little bit early for that play.
Yeah, and you don't really like to do dark rooms in Randomizer because you have no idea what's going to be in those rooms.
Especially in the going through the old man cave, because once you pick up that old man, you are stuck there until you get him out of that cave. And it looks like Swerb is going to head back to the back of Escape.
Pretty tame back here.
Rampaging Henoxes.
So we get our Sankart, a key, and half magic. Half magic with 2 rods is actually pretty nice.
As I say, with the items we found, that does set us up pretty well. Also, with the half magic comes that full refill as well. So now they have 16 shots of either rod to go have fun with.
So just some bombs in the dam. Swerb's going to go to the dam as DaringRetreat heads for Mini Moldorm Cave. Let's see what kind of craziness we get in there today.
And definitely one of the more fun early locations, and there's a chain chomp outside.
Not fun at all. Now, Daring is going to have to try to use bombs here, and okay, one of those mini Helmosaurs just went right off the edge.
Just couldn't handle it, I guess.
Oh, very nice use of the bomb, though.
Make the explosions work for you. Don't make you work for explosions. And there's a bottle.
So just a bottle from there, but that does put Sick Kid into play.
And does open up a place for them to put some safety when they make their way up to the witch's hut, as they will probably need it in this seed. As that is a lot of roller plus chain chomp. That's just rude.
Oh, that is so mad.
Look at all the rollers. He's on 1 heart as well. There's not even safety in the water.
Sorry, it's just so great to see.
No, one cannot fault you at all. Watch out, that's a Bebo statue.
And Swerve's not going to deal with that right now. He just realized.
Let's burn down that murder dactyl before it sends us to the graveyard. Oh, look, a fish.
The fishes are actually a good thing to note in Randomizer. You can throw them back into the water for something. They'll give you something. And if there's one near the bottle vendor, you can give it to the bottle vendor for a good trove of little items.
Definitely a great little way to pick up a refill if you happen to find some fish flopping around the village. As Swerb heads into the front side of Escape to visit our uncle and find their bug net and on a whole lot else.
Now Swerb, by coming here a little later with the half magic, he can do the front of Escape as well. That fire rod should allow him to get through it.
And the fire rod is one of those selections available through the standard randomized options, and it looks like DaringRetreat is going to head over to the Eastern Palace area, check Saucer Hollow's closet, and perhaps head into Eastern Palace, which we may not need the bow to complete anymore.
Yep, that's correct. And doing an Eastern play right now could be nice. The only thing is, without a sword or hammer, you can't kill a lot of bosses, so there is some risk to doing a dungeon right now. But It's also a Sphere 1 location. And there's our last pendant ice palace.
Ah, Green Pendant Ice Palace. And there's our hammer. And another bottle. And some bombs.
Okay, that makes the Eastern play a little nicer now.
However, they're still lacking the lantern to get through the dark rooms, which could be holding all sorts of horrors.
But he's not going to go there yet. He's saving quit.
And that's an interesting roller location.
Oh, that's never what you want to see, is those hands coming from the ceiling.
It's always fun in a room with lots of pits like that, having the potential for those wall masters to pluck you out of the pits.
Oh yes, I've seen that happen.
It's one of the few negative bugs to the Japanese 1.0 version of the ROM, which the randomizer is based upon.
Yeah, so far nothing in the front of Escape either, though. They're running out of locations to check. I gotta think Eastern is gonna be a play coming soon.
Now, we still have Zelda's cell here. And right now it's just guarded by Hinox and looks to be setting up the Death Warp. And just 10 sticks. Go ahead and bomb themselves out of their misery.
So Swerb is likely going to try the dark rooms here. With the fire rod, it's a little safer because if you know where the torches are, you can light those torches. But there is still some risk to this.
And just looking at what's left, we could be seeing the front side of Eastern Palace. Agina has not been checked, and with the lift upgrade, our friend Zora is in Logic, though we are missing quite a bit of money to get anywhere near having that.
Yeah, Sora's in a little bit better position since he did the Houlihan play, but yeah, we're still quite a bit away in terms of money.
All right, and then we brought some light into us, and we have Pen Gators, Garaya, and some tentacles.
Yeah, Swerb is making good use of that fire rod.
And only one heart left, and they have a hard hat beetle coming right for them.
Decided to retreat up the stairs. Gonna have to be careful down here.
Alright, and there's a save and quit for DaringRetreat. Where do they head next?
I'm going to Sanctuary.
I don't think they've checked the back of Escape yet. I think only Swerb's been there, so...
Yeah, you are correct.
And good use of it looks like really good use of the bee there. It's rewarded with only a fire shield, unfortunately, which may come in handy as with the Randomizer.
Yeah, that was a very nice use of that bee by Swerb.
Definitely something you're not going to say no to in Randomizer.
And we're going to see Swerb head over to the eastern area as Daring gets his half magic and heart refill. And I think Daring's going to try the dark rooms from the other direction.
Well, they did pick up that key, so... Nice knowledge to find that torch. Go ahead and hammer down the mole dorm that's holding onto that small key. I heard a Wizrobe.
Oh yeah, you want to watch out for those. They do 4 hearts of damage with their beam in green mail. And meanwhile, Swerve had to deal with a mimic there, blocking him perfectly.
As we hammer our way through the darkness on DaringRetreat side. Pick up their fire shield, and where will they head next? Looks like Eastern's just about the only play left, aside from Agina.
Yeah, Gina and Zora, which Zora you don't have the money for yet. Gina, that's one location that's way out of the way. Eastern looks good because you do have the potential of clearing it right now.
All this hinges on what is that boss and what nightmares await in those dark rooms. One can only hope the lantern is around here somewhere, and there we have boots.
You'll also take those. That, at a minimum, opens one more location at the Bonk Rocks. It does put Lumberjack into play later on, but not right away.
And it also gives us access to that magic powder that's sitting in the library.
Well, yeah, that too. So that by itself is opening 2 item locations.
So it's interesting to see the colors that things come out with as we're on playing on the old SNES soft or hardware. There was only so many colors available, so you'll see some enemies come out in interesting colors depending on where they're at. It
just was somehow how the game loads some of these enemies. It uses shared color palettes, and that can influence enemy colors. Also, if you go into like Thieves Town, where you have the puff clouds that are essentially translucent, enemies that replace those will also be translucent.
Anyways, the interesting scenario is seeing a Helmasaur King in the first Moldorm fight, and he just happens to, there's just some random legs floating around the room.
Alright, first hint to the game, just some bombs in the big chest of swamp.
That'll save us a little bit of time when we do reach Swamp Palace. Provided it... Oh, and DaringRetreat looks to be taking an unfortunate death there. One of potentially many with the way Randomizer works.
Yeah, getting fairies or some safety early is definitely helpful in this mode.
And Swerb hammering out with that lever out there.
You gotta be a little careful here to avoid that whiz rope. Looks like he's by it nicely. Now, the good news is for the other dark room, he will have the fire rod to illuminate it.
And not having to deal with those anti-fairies, just a whole lot of those shadow enemies. Only rewarded with the compass. We're going to head back into the most dangerous dark room here momentarily.
Yeah, this dark room, it's never pleasant in Randomizer. But having the fire rod at least helps. That's actually pretty tame for what this dark room can be.
I was going to say, it's taking it easy on him. It's just how to figure out which of these enemies is holding onto that small key. And it's the Bari there, and he gets out of there. Just a half heart.
There's a heart up here you can grab. Wrong pot, Swerb.
Deciding against it. There are a few more refills when you get to that room just before the Armos Knight's location.
He's gotta be careful. So here's
magic refill.
Yeah. So here's where things can get really interesting. That's actually not too bad. So one trick with the Hinox is if you kill them with a bomb, they go down in one hit. Or they can take you down with one hit.
Yeah, unfortunately, Swerb goes down with that one hit. And choosing to save and quit out of Eastern Palace.
Now, I wasn't tracking items. He might have got all 3.
I will admit I was not watching the item count either.
Well, with those boots, he's going to check these 2 boot locations now.
As of course, it's itemized, so there has to be thieves in really inconvenient locations. And there we have our first sword.
That's very nice to have with the boots, because now you can just do normal dashing. Looking at Daring Retreat's menu, he did have the map and compass. So the Armos location does have one item.
Alright, and he's chosen to let go of his bee and heading down into the safety room here to pick up some fairies with his bug net.
That's very good knowledge of the dungeon layout and using your resources.
Unfortunately, cannot keep his bead, friend. Alright, Swerb is going to go ahead and pick up their magic powder.
So that magic powder will open up the magic bat, which is in logic because they have the hammer. Well, that's why he grabbed those fairies.
Yeah, that room is definitely not kind. And now the lights are off.
Yeah.
I
Man.
don't believe many Helmosaurs take damage from the fire rod, unfortunately.
Oh, second death, but he's got a second fairy.
I definitely have to get the, has to make his way up to that blue berry that's holding on to the key.
So for Swerb, he checked Magic Bat, nothing there. He's probably going to go for Gina now. And if he wants to, there's also the cave right by Gina where you can farm up some rupees.
Yeah, and answer your question in chat, Swerb, because Swerb is coming in at a record of 1-4, and Daring is coming in at a record of 0-7. This seed is Swerb's pick. They have not yet faced each other. Alright, and Daring Retreat gonna head back into our last room here. Getting a little bit of an assist from the Hinoxes there.
Over on Swerv's side, let's find out if Agina's worthwhile. Bombos. Potentially useful later, but doesn't open anything right now.
It does not open anything on its own, but is definitely a nice little bit of extra safety, so to speak. It's going to help you clear out some of the more dangerous rooms in just one fell swoop, and with half magic, you're not so worried about consumption, and it looks like we have a Land Molus.
Not bad at all for your first boss. And Derek's going to go with hammer strats.
Interesting to go with hammer strats when he has both the fire and ice rods.
And I think he just realized that. Fire rod and half magic. And Swerb just found the dangers of South Shore.
And we burn down our Land Molus to reveal the last item, which is just a piece of heart, but 23 minutes in, we have our first crystal.
So, at this point, I think Zora's got to have progression.
It's not much else. There could be a hiding progression for us right now. We're still looking for that Moon Pearl to give us Dark World access, as Swerb has to try to find their way through this. Just what even is this?
So, looking at what Zora could have, let's see. He could have the Moon Pearl for Dark World access, which probably is the most likely option. He could also have a cape or a second sword, which would send us... Well, nope, that would not put Aghanim in logic by itself.
The lamp would be one to open up our way to Death Mountain.
That would be a good possibility too. Yeah. I think Daring is just going to try these dark rooms though. After doing a lumberjack check, which I don't think we've had yet.
I do not believe so, but with the boots it's a little bit quicker. Alright, and what are they holding on to? Just a big 20.
So, yep, nothing on lumberjack. We will not have to kill Aga for that.
And chat bringing up also the possibility could be the flute.
I think at this point Swerb I think is committed to doing a dark climb. Daring Retreat still has a couple boots locations you can check.
And it looks like they may also head up. Oh, they're going to go in for the dark rooms. Interesting to choosing not to pick up those hearts he was just granted. As I mentioned earlier, if you were to fall in this cave with the old man, you're not getting out, and that's just the red boomerang from the sick kid.
Yeah, I think we saw that on Swerb's side. And Swerb looks like he's getting through this dark room okay. I think he lucked out a little bit with the enemy placements in here.
And they're even kinder on the way out of Death Mountain, which is just get a heart container from the old man.
So one more spot up here. You can check Spectacle Rock and see what's on top of it, but you can't get it. But there is one item inside Spectacle Rock, plus a hint.
As Daring Retreat makes their way over to Begina just to be disappointed.
Now, I think Daring's going to farm up the rupees for Zora. Well, he's here.
Definitely smart play. I mean, Houlihan still would be available to them. They have not been in there yet.
Unfortunately for Swerb, this doesn't pay off, just arrows. He's going to get a hint, though. You can rule out Mimic Cave. But, yeah, you gotta go to Zora.
Alright, so here we are on a quest for money.
Now, one thing I haven't seen these runners do yet is check the stun prize. You can stun the enemy with an enemy with a boomerang and kill it, and the drop will always be the same. It's pretty rare that would be a red rupee, but if it is, that's an even faster way to farm. But I think they're both just committed to doing their farming here.
Alright, and as we get to play Farming the Pots, take a look and feel free to give these runners a follow. They're putting themselves out there for your entertainment. The least you can do is show them a little support.
Absolutely.
And we'll get a Desert Ledge check from Daring Retreat, which we did not get earlier. Just a big 20.
So yeah, I think now at this point we're just kind of got to predict what Zora gonna have. Is he just gonna have a Moon Pearl that opens up a lot? Is it gonna have something else? It wouldn't be the flute at this point because that would just open up Death Mountain, which had nothing. Lamp wouldn't help us at this point.
It almost has to be something to put us into the Dark World or into Desert Palace.
Yeah, I think at this point it could also be the hook shot. Nope, never mind. Can't be the hook shot by itself because we'd still not have logical Death Mountain access. I think you are right. It's either Dark World access or Desert Palace access.
Or an item that will lead to those. It could be the mushroom or shovel leading to one of those things. And Daring Retreat looks like they'll be setting up their Houlihan so they can go pick up the rest of the money they need to go visit the king of all scams, who won't be giving us the shaft too much here. And Swerb has his money and is heading on up.
He might be going... Yeah, he's going to go for the portal over here. Based on what's on the next screen, the usual setup to get to Zora doesn't seem like it's going to work very well. But this warp is nice and safe.
It's not one you soften, but definitely nice in a situation like this. When we know there's... nothing.
Alright. Swerb continuing to run over. So, here we go. Continuing the run up now. Let's see if Zora's domain is kind to them. Can Swerb get through this? Will it be a nice Zora's Domain, or will it be bad? So far, it looks somewhat nice. Yeah, this is nice. And, oh, looks like the sun prize was 5 rupees, so there was another way to farm, though the cave was probably a little more efficient. Alright, here we go. What does Zora have? There's the Moon Pearl, there's our Dark World access.
I paid 500. I came all this way. I paid 500 rupees, and all I got was our way into the Dark World.
So at 30 minutes in, they both have their Dark World access. They're probably a little angry at how long it took, but I mean, they know they didn't get any big rupee drops, so they know their opponent probably had to do the same. We got a map check. It looks like our red crystals were Skull Woods and Misery Mire.
Yeah, but then we get a rather rude hidden anti-fairy in the bush there.
Alright, our Hype Cave. Oh, there's a Master Sword. And a bow. Okay, that was a nice Hype Cave.
A solid 7.
Alright, and is Swerb gonna go straight for Pod? I think he's gonna take that bow and go into Pod.
Definitely not the worst play. It is clearable because we still needed the bow to get past that Cyclops switch.
Well, he's gonna check the pyramids first. So maybe not Pod quite yet.
Doesn't quite get the spin speed set up, but and just the Uncle Bombs.
Okay, that was interesting. You check pyramid and save and quit. And Daring Retreat's going the exact same way. These two have been copying each other for a good 5 minutes at least now.
Okay, so where do you think our first major divergence is going to come?
Well, right now you don't have a lot of opportunity to diverge. I mean, you could go for Pod, but without the lamp, it's mostly out of logic. I mean, right now your best move. Well, never mind. Here's our first divergence anyway. Daring's gonna go for Pod, and Swerv's gonna probably go for Thieves Town. Maybe even Skull Woods. With the Fire Rod, he can complete it.
Yeah, Skull Woods is that 5/6 crystal.
So at this point, in terms of bosses, we're actually pretty safe. I think the only boss they can't kill right now would be Argus.
Yeah, we do need the hookshot to pull those R guys off. And one of the unfortunate parts of Randomizer is a lot of overworld lag potential as Daring Retreat is feeling outside of Pod. And then remembers he needs to have 100 rupees to let him in.
Yeah, I think all of us have made that mistake at least once before.
Oh.
Now, the enemies do drop 5 rupees, but that's assuming you can actually stun them.
And remember, he will have to get the extra 5 over 100 to give just for Kiki's tip to get it started.
Yeah, he's gonna just wait on this now. So I think that's where Swerb probably realized he might have been thinking about Pod, but saw his money. So
it's one of those things that's definitely easy to forget about.
Yeah, Swerv's gonna go for the back of Skull Woods, which, like I said, you can clear it right now unless it's Argus. And I don't think you want to see Argus down here.
I would definitely agree on that one. It definitely has to be a good feeling for our owners to only have one boss that they cannot defeat, as he could be sitting there having to search for, knowing that we already have the ice rod in hand and have to look through that item that can be almost anywhere. And DaringRetreat makes their dip into the Dark World. It looks like they are going to try to head south and realize they do not have the Titans meds.
He's going to go first straight for Thieves Town.
Also a full clearable dungeon, unless the boss is Argus.
Oh! That's not good. Now you gotta walk all the way back to that portal.
Definitely not the kindest place for Okaboga. It looks like we have a blind here.
Not the place you want to see blind. Because of how he's hovering, you have to beat him from when he's on the bottom. But I think because of the rollers, like the beams aren't working for him.
Interesting.
Yeah, this conveyor belt can do some very interesting things to these bosses.
I think the Swerb needs to commit themselves to remembering that it looks like they can only really damage. Oof. That's the thing with trying to make those spins on blind, is it'll send you flying across the room, and looks like we're going to add a B to the arena.
And unfortunately, Swerb takes a death. Luckily, it won't set him too far back.
Alright, and here's round 2 for DaringRetreat.
Oh, that's what got DaringRetreat last time. Pokies that could do 4 hearts of damage.
Yeah, the Tokuboku may look cute, but they are definitely tough. Is that a single bomb?
It might have been from the first chest, which is a possible normal drop from there. But here's blind round 2 for Swerb.
It's really interesting to see that laser interaction with blind there.
Yeah, there's some very interesting interactions on this boss. If you get Moldorm here, he's basically completely immobilized. He can't do anything. If you get Helmasaur here, his tail can't do a thing. It just spins around harmlessly.
I have seen that on a seed I've run myself, and it unfortunately takes another unfortunate death to blind here. Not a kind place to find that thief. And it looks like we're heading straight back in for round 3. Interesting they're choosing to always take the skip, as they can get a couple more hearts in this room.
But there's also a way to get hearts. I don't know if Swerb's thought about powdering anti-fairies to give himself some safety here. I think he's got the bug net as well.
Yeah, so that was our uncle was holding on to the net.
There he goes. He just thought of it.
And here we are in Thieves Town, which is one of the more entertaining places in Randomizer. Have to love the bunny sprite for the Ninja Turtles there. And there's another instance of being 1.0'd.
Alright, Swerb going in for round 3, and he's got plenty of safety this time.
And that's a question in the chat, why is this race happening at this hour? It is up to the racers themselves to schedule when they're going to race each other.
Yep, racers can choose to race whenever is convenient for them, and then we just plan the restreams around that. I know for Swerb, it's actually only like 9:40 right now. He's on the West Coast.
And there are some of these runners that are located across the pond. And there is our first Trinex.
So Daring debated using hammer strats, but decided with have magic is gonna go master sword strats.
Definitely cannot fault them at all.
Oh, but he gets nailed and is down.
Down goes Daring.
Now that is one of the nicer things about Randomizer, though, is you can go straight to the boss here in Thieves Town.
You don't have to worry about the escort quest.
Yeah, exactly. I think Swerb got both of his items in Skull Woods, and he's going to be heading towards Thieves Town as well.
That looked like to be a Zora swimming in the land there. Alright, here's Trinex round 2. So this time opting for the hammer strats.
Yeah, this is a little tough with hammer strats, because the hammering up is always a little tougher because it's less of a hitbox. So it can take some practice getting used to this.
Yeah, gonna have to be careful with his magic here. Any more hugs from this Trinex? That was close.
And that was not. So I think at this point for Daring, he's going to have to just hold on to Trinex. Doesn't have enough magic to try it again.
There are a couple of refills out there to be found. Not too many magic pots in Thieves Town. But still some more. I don't think they've gone any further than the boss. So there's still some more checks to be made here.
Yeah. At this point, you might as well just check the rest of Thieves Town, see if Trinex would even have anything. And yeah, that's exactly what Daring's going to do.
And he does have both the keys, so the big chest is in logic.
Oh. Man, this is just a rough Thieves Town.
Hey, look, a Lionel.
So this is where having the bottles and the net early is really helping these runners.
Oh, absolutely.
And
right,
Swerb... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So Swerb grabs the key and decides, maybe I'll visit this Trinex a little bit later. Now, they don't know there's a Trinex there quite yet.
And here we see the ghosts of all the enemies they've beaten so far.
And boy, does that hellway look like hell. Definite shoutouts to our uncle there for giving us the bug net. Swerb just desperately trying to get through and finally makes it out of there. Only to be greeted with spike traps and Enoxes.
I don't know how long it's been since I've seen this, but there's a nice hint. A unique item behind the big red bomb. Our red crystals are Skull Woods and Mire. We obviously have Skull Woods access. We don't have Mire access just yet, though.
Still need our flute and our Titansmiths in order to get over there.
And we'll also need the Cane of Samari to finish it. Plus at least one medallion, though that could be Bombos.
Looking at what progression could be locked in there, not a whole lot. Flippers, maybe the hook shot.
Yeah, hookshot could be there. We'd have to get access to it somewhat soon, though.
As far as progression lock goes, the flippers is probably what's calling out to me as the most likely to be hidden in the Pyramid Fairy.
But it could also be something completely unneeded, such as the single arrow. Single arrow is probably the one item in the unique item pool that you absolutely would never want to see.
Right, and DaringRetreat getting cursed by their bat. As we'll take a peek at the last two checks here in the back of Thieves Town.
Could also be a Turtle Rock medallion. That's another thing it could be.
And the other thing that I realized, the mirror as well. And the cells around Blind are pretty kind this time. Unfortunately, just the map to be found. Looks like DaringRetreat's going to make their way back into the Dark World, likely going to go check these Skullwoods checks.
So I'm starting to think Trinex has something. I think it's Trinex or maybe the Dig game, or Stumpy, actually. That could work as well.
Yeah, we haven't made any of those checks south of the Village of Outcasts quite yet.
But looking at Swerv's items, Trinex definitely does have an item. And Swerb is handling this Trinex fight very well.
And down goes the Firehead, and just deciding to just burn the Ice Head down. Definitely can't blame them with half magic. I'm setting up for the third and final phase.
And there's Trinex down. Let's see if Swerb gets something out of this. We'll get a crystal, of course, but...
Alright, the explosion's dead, and in the center room we receive just a piece of heart.
That's Swerv's second crystal, at least. So he's got 2 down. Daring, by leaving that alone for now, is not going to be hurt. He'll obviously have to come back at some point to clear it, but for now he can leave that alone.
And that was interesting to see. He takes the heart from falling into the pit, and is then healed by the fairy that flies over the pit.
This game can do some very interesting things.
Yeah, being able to still be contacted by enemies or other things while falling down a pit is one of the only negative glitches that are present in the 1.0. It looks like we're finally going to get our first check of the digging game.
So somewhere between 1 and 30 digs to find the item here. And it was dig 11. So we're about to see Stumpy, and after that, our options again are pretty limited. I think you're going to have to make a pod dive or a catfish check.
House of Darkness and catfish are the only things that really left to us. And just some blueberries from our friend that's now a tree.
Ooh, Swerb finds a fairy in the bushes. Gets his health refilled. Meanwhile, Daring heading for the back of Skullwoods.
Definitely enjoying having to deal with only Babasu and the Wall Masters as opposed to those friends, the Gibdos. And Swerb this time having more than enough money for Kiki the Monkey. And takes the Wall Master right out of there.
Alright. We're about to get our check in the Skullwoods. Unfortunately, these Moldorms are having some trouble keeping their tails together.
Be curious to see if we see any of the large Moldorms to see just how many eyeballs are potential on those.
Alright, so without Lamp, this is not fully on logic, but there are chests in logic down here.
Everything on the front side is available to these runners. And we do not necessarily have to worry about the normal bow lock, as there's no guarantee that we're going to see those red Garaya in that room.
And with the bow, at least, you have a couple more items you can check easily. As Daring takes a death warp to get back up here.
Well, the bow is only required to access the boss's chamber, with the Randomizer enabled. And DaringRetreat trying to make their way through the intended strats for the extra refills. Tries to net the ferry and isn't successful. And just a small key in the big key location for Swerb. And next, finding the burrito.
We're gonna get a hint here in Pod. And that's not a hint, that's just a joke.
Just some Zelda 1 knowledge for you, in case we decide to flip this to Zelda 1 Randomizer.
We're not doing retro mode today.
DaringRetreat grabbing their ice rod only to realize, oh look, there's blind. Does have the advantage is he does have access to the sword beams here.
Hey, there's our lamp in Pod.
Well, that opens up the rest of the dungeon to us here. And I'm sure if you're Swerb, you're relieved to see that.
Daring's got to be careful. He doesn't have any fairies. He has 2 hearts.
He takes one more hug, it's over. Gets a little greedy there.
Oh, that's not a fair placement of that spike.
That's just rude. It looks like he's going to choose to take a bomb damage boost through that. Doesn't quite pull it off, though. There we go. That bridge in Pod is definitely one of the more entertaining places in Randomizer. And there's our big key and our Titan's mitts.
And Swerb right into a Lionel. He did have a fairy at least. I think he was expecting him to run right up those stairs.
Unfortunately, Lionel had other plans for him. And picking up another small key here. He decides to go through that way, not remembering that he has to deal with that spike trap, but I imagine he's probably going to go for the hammer yump.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going to do here. Using this pause button to buffer as DaringRetreat picks up a fairy for this fight again.
And just the compass in the big chest. DaringRetreat unfortunately already lost their sword beams.
Well, it's 300 rupees for Swerb in the Dark Maze. Daring's got to be a little careful. Already down to 2 hearts. Oh, and Swerb finds the mirror as Daring takes a death, but does have a fairy.
Still 4 more hits and needs to get in on blind.
Two hit heads, he's got to be careful. 3 hearts. Oh.
Just
Another
not
fairy.
a kind place, and that was interesting on Swerb's side.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes when you charge for that.
Alright, 2 more hits we need to get on blind here. And down goes blind, finally, and Daring remembers that in Randomizer, the item always drops in the center.
And there's this Daring second crystal.
That brings up the 5-6 for him. Still need to get our way into Misery Mire before we can see what unique item the Pyramid Fairy is holding on to.
At this point, all we need is the flute to do that.
Oh, and the cane.
Yep, we do need the cane to finish it. You're right. Interesting. Actually, grabbing that mirror in Titan's Bits in Pod opens up a lot, especially up on Death Mountain.
It definitely would expect our runners, definitely would expect Swerb to head straight up to the mountain after this, as there are a lot of items that just opened up to them.
Yeah, I mean, looking and see what we still need to finish to see. We need the hook shot. We need the Cane of Samaria. We need the flute. We need the flippers. We need potentially medallions. We don't know yet. So there's still quite a bit we need to finish.
Absolutely, as Swerb gets a rather kind Terrapin room.
Okay, time for guess the next boss.
And look, Wizrobes. Alright, the King Helm Sword has been replaced with whatever ungodly abomination that is.
6-eye, or is that 7-eye? Storm. That's a 7-eye Moldorm.
Alright, and 3 hammer hits sends that away from us so we can be safe from our nightmares. And there's the crystal for Swerb.
And with that mirror, he's likely going to just... he's going to mirror right away and take out Eastern, which will be much easier with the lamp in tow. And Daring's going to take on Trinex again.
It's definitely a little bit better equipped this time, with many more hearts than the first time they went into Eastern. Unfortunately, the Firehead is just not cooperating for him. Alright, down goes the Firehead.
Just taking it slow, don't rush this fight.
As he then takes a hit. Oof.
Oh. Ooh.
Trinex, please. Show some mercy.
Unfortunately, there is no mercy in Randomizer.
Alright, so I'm having a little bit better of a go at that dark room. Gonna make their way back and take down those Landmo Knights.
And give credit to DaringRetreat, he's still trying this fight.
Despite his name, he does not retreat.
Oh, but he's out of magic. He's not going to be able to finish this fight.
And he goes ahead and accepts his fate. And down go the Landmos, sort of picking up that piece of heart and their 4th crystal.
So with 4 crystals, I gotta imagine Swerb is gonna head up Death Mountain at this point.
100% the most item-dense play available to him is to head up into Death Mountain. As Daring decides to take a break from boss fights and dig some holes.
Trying to get some
magic, I would think. Does get a couple.
I will say one thing that's good to know in the Randomizer, or the randomizer itself, is sometimes to know what your limits are, and to just, if you hit something, if you have other options to take them on. And I don't know if Daring is going to do that. We'll see. Meanwhile, Swerb headed straight over to the east side of the mountain. Nothing on the floating island. Gonna check Spiral Cave and then Paradox.
As we get to zoom our way through here. The enemies in here being relatively non-threatening. And is rewarded with the blue mail for their troubles. Definitely will not turn that down in Randomizer.
Yeah, you really, that's just a huge relief to see. So with the mirror, Swerb can do some nice routing up here.
Oh, absolutely. Can route in all of these checks and speed them up just a little bit, as DaringRetreat is going to check our Swamp Palace hint tile to let us know that the hookshot is hiding in Misery Mire.
That's a really nice hint, man.
However, we're still missing two pieces, or at least one piece of the puzzle to get us to where that is. As a mushroom shows up for Swerb. It looks like Daring is heading over toward the Palace of Darkness, which we know has been holding on to his progression for a while.
Yeah, he was headed in the right direction so much earlier, but those rupees just sent him away. And he's going to take a fairy refill here, which is a good thing to know. Don't think Swerb got anything in here except for a red potion.
And nothing on that top side of Paradox Cave. Go ahead and drop down and pick up their portal and head into Super Bunny.
Chad makes an interesting point with regards to what's locking the hookshot. Because in the logic here, you can be required to bonk over the pit to get into Mire. Boots bonks are in logic if it lets you access something.
Yeah, they are considered a developer-intended trick, as that's the only way you are able to reach a refill room in Ganon's tower.
And Swerb just found the flute. So if Bombos is our access to Mire, he can go in, but he can't finish it, though.
But does not have the knowledge that DaringRetreat has that the hookshot is hiding inside, as we need the Ether Medallion to get our way into Turtle Rock. And Swerb using knowledge of what we just spoke about to know that despite not having the hookshot, there is one chest here that is in logic. Unfortunately, just a piece of heart.
So with that flute, Swerb will likely go activate it right away. And I think he's gonna go at least check the Mire area, because there's 3 chests he can get to over there. Plus... Oh, nope, he's gonna go check the bonk rocks over here first. Or the tomb. But yeah, 3 chests you can check in Mire area, and you could dip into Mire if it's Bombos.
Alright, and our King's Fortune is the Arrow of Destiny.
Which, that's not a bad thing to see right now, if you have that knowledge of what the red bomb unlocks, because that means you're not going to go into the Pyramid Fairy and just find a single arrow.
But looking at what we know with what we need to get into what is in Misery Mire and what we need to access Misery Mire, really all signs are really pointing to that possibly being the flippers or something useless.
And Swerb just gonna check back here, actually. He hasn't checked what's in Lumberjack yet.
And as we remember, it's not a whole lot, but big 20. I imagine now that our next step for Swerb should be to activate their flute.
And DaringRetreat grabs his lamp. Also, he keeps going. Find those mitts and mirror in here.
And definitely get him started, as the duck is now a muck, and we're likely going to flute to 6.
Or maybe not yet. What's Swerb thinking?
Well, he does have access to the Titan's mitts and mirror, so that opens up the Smith chain. As that was an interesting enemy to find under the bush.
Yeah, that was a very interesting placement for a crow.
As DaringRetreat finds their rather interesting spike trap. And just decides to brute force it. As we're going to go ahead and take Jeremiah home. And there's one in chat I have not seen before, Turnkey the Turkey. I can appreciate that one. As we satisfy our ears with some hammer pegs. Only to find a heart container.
Alright, what do the Smiths have?
And Retreat unfortunately takes a death, but has that fairy.
That's vanilla.
Now we have us a vanilla bacon sword. That definitely feels good for Swerb to find, as the difference between Tempered and Master is astronomical.
Absolutely.
And looks like we're choosing to flute to 2, as we turn in our mushroom, and probably pick up some potions.
Yeah, you got plenty of money. You don't need money for anything else at this point.
Oh,
or maybe
deciding
not.
against it. Make sure to pick up their purple chest before they hit the flute. As DaringRetreat heads back toward the back of the Palace of Darkness to find the Moldorm Abomination.
Alright, here's our Meyer check. We'll see if Swerb was able to go in.
All things considered, aren't there many locations left available? And yep, we can get in. We have the Bombus Medallion.
Okay, so we can go in. We cannot finish it, though, but that means there's a pretty good chance we'll be able to get the hookshot in there, even though he doesn't know it.
And there's the magic cape as well. Go ahead and check our checkerboard cave here.
Well, that was
Interesting.
red mail, but he doesn't pick it up. I mean, I can't fully blame him. Red mail isn't absolutely needed if you're at this level. But yeah, passing on that Randomizer,
And it's not that long of a check. They do have the mirror in hand, so you can just delete those blocks in the way.
Yeah. I feel like Swerve's been playing a little bit more risky. If you've noticed, he's not grabbing fairies. He didn't grab potions. He's just trying to get through this as fast as he can. Which you can't.
Go on.
I mean, you can't blame him for that, but at the same time, you know, he might feel behind, maybe, I guess, but, yeah.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to bring up. Perhaps they maybe feel behind as we pick up the big key and the knowledge that we do not need to go to the basement of Hera, though we don't know if we're going to visit Hera at all. As DaringRetreat makes quick work of my nightmares.
It's interesting that Swerve decided to come in here. We'll have to see if he finds anything. It is a pendant, so he doesn't have to finish it. But I mean, it's a quick check. He's here.
There's a couple checks. They don't know that the hookshot is hiding in there, in Misery Mire. There's one of the two items and gets a full heart refill as they complete another heart container. One item left, if I'm counting correctly, and finds the burrito, so it is on the Landmola spot. I don't know if they're going to head back there.
Well, it looks like he is. He's going to take on whatever boss is back here.
Interesting decision. Now, we do know if it is an Argus, that he won't be able to complete it, but though the item is not that far away.
Yeah. If the hookshot's in the front and it's an Argus, then he can grab it and come right back. Though it would be a pretty cruel chain if you had to go into Mire to get the hookshot to come here to get the cane to go back into Mire to finish it.
That could be what Swerb is maybe looking for, is the Cane of Samaria to try to complete Misery Mire. Interesting watching the spike trap clip through that wall there.
Alright, which boss?
Well, we're out of here.
No chance to kill him.
Yeah, we're and your little prediction is starting to look like it could be.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Swerve was a little quick on the trigger there. You could have just mirrored out, but... oh, he's going back here. Not sure what else is for him to check. I guess he could use the cape and see if there's anything on the bumper ledge.
I did find that. DaringRetreat is deciding to go pick up some of these fairies. Alright, where is Shantae going? It looks like bumper ledge. And that's just 10 sticks.
And we haven't seen bumper ledge yet, so might as well head there.
Alright, where are we going next, Swerb? Suppose they haven't checked that. Yeah, they may not have checked Graveyard Ledge quite yet. As DaringRetreat tries to avoid the long soliloquies there. And DaringRetreat heading into uncharted territory in Tower of Hera. Now we do know from a hint on Swerve's side that the basement is holding on just a piece of heart.
So there's only one item he'll get in here.
And it has to be upstairs. Magic Cape is near Misery Mire. Already saw that on the Swerve side.
And I think Swerb is now going to go for Meyer.
Not many checks left for them outside of maybe Catfish.
He could have also chosen to dip into the front of Swamp because you do have that access. But actually, no, you don't. You don't have flippers. Never mind.
Yeah, we're still looking for those flippers, and that could be the item hiding in the Pyramid Fairy. Provided we find the Cane of Samaria somewhere. As we bonk into Meyer, we'll see what we hold on to. We haven't found anything, and the boots are in Eastern Palace. We found those a while ago, but thanks. And Swerb makes quick work of this room with his tempered sword. Alright, the big chest is holding on to the small key for the basement.
So I think that means the Moldorm boss has an item. I don't think we've seen one yet.
No, we have not seen an item yet, so it'll be interesting to see what is in the Moldorm 1 location. As he gets that nice bumper skip. And so far, just the compass in Misery Mire. We've got to find this hookshot in here somewhere, and that's a cold stare.
And he nopes out. Interesting, because he could have attempted cold stare. Does have the means to kill it.
He's kind of banking on that just being a time loss. Now, that was a pendant. Interesting to commit to that, only to walk out of there with none of the items available. As dead rocks are a thing. Really wants to check the requirement for Turtle Rock, which we know is ether. So our flippers or ether are looking like the things we could find in that Pyramid Fairy. Which we do know from the hint is a unique item. And there's our hookshot, as foretold. Thinks about leaving, looks like I should probably keep checking these items, just in case the cane's hiding in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's picked up the big key yet, so that's going to be in the cutscene chest.
Oh, just changes his mind. There's a lot more items available in the now completable Swamp Palace, as there's now no bosses that can stomp. Oh wait, I'm missing the flippers. But it does make it so that that Arcus he found in the Desert Palace is finally killable.
I think he's gonna go for Hookshot Cave though. 3 items in here.
He's already checked the one chest. And Daring makes his long way through the Spiral Cave.
Daring just grabs his flutes, and he does know the hook shots in Meyer, so he might go for there sooner rather than later.
Oh, hi, Lionels. How you doing? Alright, so what is the Hookshot Cave holding on to us for now?
We've got bombs, rupees, and rupee. Nothing.
Penny for your thoughts, Swerb.
Now, he does have Spike Cave. I think he's going to go for that. He might even dip into Hera.
And it looks like we're going to get that Hera dip. He knows the basement has one of the items, and we know the other item is on that cold stare. Though with the Tempered Sword, Swerb is in a little bit better of a position to fight that Cold Stare.
His magic's a little low, but if he uses Bombos, he can break through the shell.
And Swerb thanks the game for telling him where the cape he found was. And one can hope from Daring Retreat that they're going to go activate their flute. Maybe from here they can start their Smith quest and pick up their Tempered Sword.
Oh, there's a nice full magic, and Swerb goes right back for it.
I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have that. Little does he know how valuable that will be when he gets to that boss location. And Daring Retreat is fluting away, and he's heading to go check that mushroom. Alright, Swerb is heading up toward Cold Stare. What is the other item in Hera? We will find out shortly.
3.5 hearts. He's got to be a little careful in this fight.
As Daring Retreat picks up some potions from our friend the Witch. And is going to go for that Bombos to open it up.
Oh, he's at a half heart. He's got to be very... Never mind.
He has to be very dead. And deciding that, nope, Cold Stare's just not for them.
So they've both decided to skip out on Cold Stare for now, which if
Is that a Lionel head?
I'll have to look on the stream. I just saw something. I don't know what that was.
I think that was a Lionel that did not load its body.
You are right. That was a Lionel that did not load its body.
The unseen Lionel body is the deadliest. Thank you, Randomizer. We all need some more nightmare fuel.
So at this point, these runners really are running out of locations again. I mean, what else can?
The only thing that Hookshot really unlocked for us was that Argus fight.
I think that's what Swerve's going for. If it's not Argus, he's got to go. He can do Catfish. I think we haven't seen Catfish yet.
Well, Catfish has been sat unchecked for quite a while. And to answer the question in chat, the reason I think Donatello is the red male for the sprite is just because of how strong Donatello was in that NES game for the Ninja Turtles. At least that's my theory. As that gel seems to be having some issues.
No, it's got to be killable, I think.
Giba, are you okay?
Oh, there it goes.
There it goes. All right, and Swerb is taking on this Argus. So either this Argus is holding on to our progression, or Catfish, or that Cold Stare that both of our runners decided wasn't for them.
And
set up for the quick kill.
Argus is gonna go sand swimming.
Alright, down goes Argus. What do we have? 10 arrows! And the blue pendant.
Now, no, never mind. I was gonna say potentially pedestal, but without the flippers, Ice Palace is not in logic yet.
Oh boy. Alright, who wants to go face Moldorm Cold Stare? And flutes to 5.
I think he's gonna go to check catfish from here.
Just slightly faster than fluting from 4. I'll have to agree with chat there. Mold Stare is pretty good. As Daring Retreat loses half of his magic and his life to that anti-fairy. Alright, and Daring Retreat is going to head back to the cutscene room, which we did not see from Swerb's side. Now, this is progression. It could put Daring back into this race.
But we're also going to do a new check from Swerb here. What does the catfish hold?
As both screens shake, we'll see from the catfish today. It is our last bottle.
I think Swerb has to go back to Hera now. No, not yet.
Fluting to 4. Some caches in the Dark Village. Good to know. And the cutscene chest is the big key as vanilla. So we have the big chest here yet, and the Vitreous spot which we cannot reach.
Did we ever check the cave south of the Grove? I don't think we have.
I think we did. Maybe on Daring Retreat side. But I could definitely be wrong.
Nope, there's our flippers.
Alright, we've got our water toes. That was interesting. And it looks like Swerb is going to say, I'm going to Swamp Palace. And just the map for Daring Retreat. Going to find his hookshot here, and then have to see where he's going next.
So at this point, all we still need for at least our go mode is we need Ether, we need the Cane of Samaria.
We do know there is a unique item in the Pyramid Fairy, but we need the Cane of Samaria in order to access it.
But of course, that unique item could easily be something like Quake, or the book that leads to nothing, or the shovel that leads to nothing. So it's at this point, it's more likely than not that that pyramid item is not going to be needed. But it could still be.
That's definitely one of those things that'll sit in the back of your mind, like, is this going to be the thing?
Swerve's going to get us hint about his hookshot.
Oh, thanks. As Daring Retreat is making their way through Desert Palace. I'll be disappointed with the lack of items in here. He will need to make his way back to Cave 45 to find those flippers. As we get to a rather interesting chest room there. Some of these rooms have swamps a little more bearable without those water tektites, which I find are rather annoying.
You know, down in the corner, we see one of the few enemies in the Randomizer pool. Well, we saw him for a second there. That gets used in Randomizer, but not in the actual game. And it's the blue guard with the cannon. It's actually coded into the game. It's just never used.
Always interesting when that guy makes an appearance. And Daring, unfortunately, taking a death to those Goriah who just would not move out of the way of his door. As we head deeper into the Swamp Palace for Swerb, what will we find? We're still looking for Arcane and our Ether.
So 2 items so far, neither useful. Have not seen the map or compass, but Swerve's going to just go ahead and do the left side.
Now, with 2 items for go mode, it definitely seems like a good logical bet.
Yeah, the way I like to usually play Swamp is I usually will wait on the left side until if I don't find the map or the compass in the first 2 chests. Just because there's a bigger chance than they're on the left side.
Yeah, but after wasting all that time on Tower of Hera and Desert, they may have a feeling that they're behind? It's always hard to say with these Randomizer, because your opponent can be having the same troubles that you are, as Daring is making their way into the Dark World via the Village of Outcasts.
This might be the Smith's play, which if it is, it'll get Daring his tempered.
And would hopefully point them towards Cave 45 on the way to the purple chest to get their flippers. And somebody let their dog out in the village.
Alright, left side. For Swerb it has the big key, which we know is bombs.
And what's our last chest going to reveal today? It is the map.
So yeah, that would have been a situation that Swerb would have had more of an advantage to go to the back first, but you know, can't blame him for doing that.
No, it's just it's such as Randomizer. You have to make some of these gambles to hopefully get yourself in a good position. Though we know Swerb is in a good position, they don't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, so you're a runner in this tournament. How do you feel if you're in both of these runners' positions?
I mean, when you're this far into the seat, an hour and a half, you don't have go mode yet, you feel like you're behind. Especially knowing how many deaths you've taken so far. You can't help but feel behind. But I think every runner feels that way just because of kind of the nature of how this game goes.
That's an interesting... Anti-fairies don't really know how to deal with being started in water.
And Daring is going to take another shot at Trinex. This time he has red mail and tempered sword.
And 13 hearts. Let's pick up another piece of heart and we head toward the Argus spot. And we're skating in the walls here. Interesting to see Daring still holding on to that small key. Has not been to the big chest yet. But Tempered should make quick work of this Trinex this time as we find Armos Knights.
Yeah, this is pretty much a vanilla Armos fight for you because of the room, so...
Just a slightly different color. And forgetting it always drops in the middle, so you get a random splash there. And a crystal. Swamp Palace coming up dry.
Meanwhile, Daring's got to be careful. Down to 2.5 hearts, but he's got Trinex down finally.
Alright, so where is this Cane of Samaria hiding?
I think at this point you might dip ice, and I think that's what Swerb's going to do.
That's just about all you've got left for item-dense locations. Feels bad being the green pendant, but there aren't many options. You still gotta make your way there.
And the thing is, if Cold Stare has a key, then Samaria is, Oh, but yeah, we have not seen the flipper checks, and there's a shovel on the island.
And that's one of those things you just never want to see in a location like that. What if that shovel is locking my progression? As DaringRetreat lags their way in, so they can finally make their checks in the back of Thieves Town. And just bombs from our hobo. What was he planning?
Let's not ask. Huh, interesting. He only checked... I think he's gonna go for the island and grab that shovel.
Yeah, definitely something you would want to do. They wouldn't... Yeah, there we go. As DaringRetreat gets a look at our Hinox and giant spike trap room in Thieves Town. Interesting with the false sword being there, and that's a chain chomp. I'm just gonna get off this island.
Yeah, those invincibility frames helped out quite a bit.
Alright, and we're gonna go make the flipper check into the Waterfall of Wishing here. Alright, and 2 items here. We have 10 arrows and 3 bombs. So
those flipper checks not paying off yet, but we still do have that shovel spot, which I'm guessing Swerb will check right away.
I'd imagine a Flute de Four is coming right now. BMO statues are interesting lawn ornaments. When you just don't like your neighbors. BMO statues. And Armos bushes. And there's our Ether Medallion!
Okay. Unfortunately, that doesn't open up anything in Turtle Rock yet, because you can't get in without Kane.
It gives us access to the hint, but I sincerely doubt we're gonna flute our way out and walk our way just for a hint tile. Let's go to Ice Palace!
And at this point, you're almost hoping it's an ice because you don't want it to be that item you left behind on Cold Stare in Hera.
Alright, and DaringRetreat did pick up their Tempered Sword and is on their way to the south. Hopefully they'll stop at Cave 45, and we find that a unique item requires the hammer.
That's an interesting hint. Have we found something that's locked by the hammer? It could easily be referenced something in GT too, so...
I'm trying to think if there's anything we found that required the hammer.
DaringRetreat's picking up his flippers. There was nothing on Helmassar. There was nothing in Swamp.
I bet you it's going to point to Arcane being here in Ice Palace.
That is a possibility.
To answer a question in chat, why it became called Cave 45, every one of the caves is numbered on the map, and that cave just doesn't really have a better name. It's been called Cave South of Grove, but just... Cave 45 just kind of stuck.
So Swerb is setting up for the bomb jump here in a minute. Basically, as soon as he finds the Cane of Samaria, he's out of here.
And we find out that a glove is in the Kakariko well. Really helpful hint there.
Meanwhile, Daring with those flippers is going to dip into Swamp Palace.
And be disappointed when he finds a whole lot of nothing. Alright, as we set up the main Ice Palace bomb jump for Swerb. One and done, well done. Now we have an interesting array of enemies here.
With a small key, Swerb can check the right first, which is usually a little bit more efficient.
Interesting to see those gold men made of ice. Alright, what do we got here? There's the big key. And we'll head into the big key's vanilla location, and what do we have next? Just another 3 hundo. The seed did start out poor, but has been raining coin ever since.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough start for them to have to farm rupees just to get to the Dark World.
And to call back for those of you that may be joining us late, the Moon Pearl was on King Zora, and there was not a whole lot of money to start this seed.
So we've seen 2 items in here. We still one more to go. Plus the green pendants. And what is Swerb thinking here?
Interesting routing choice. They did find the big key, so they could pick up the big key chest, but they're going to go in from this side.
I think he's going to go check the iced tea chest first. He also could check the hint in here.
The bow requires a bomb.
Bo was in Hype Cave.
And this is a room.
There's an anti-ferrican powder right there. But he doesn't.
She's against it, though. Alright, and the iced tea room is holding on to us today. Just another small key.
So I think there's only 2 chests left. There would be the big chest and Cold Stare. I think we've seen all the keys at this point, so this was not locked behind the Cane of Samaria.
Yes, we have to imagine our cane is hiding in here. Or via the green pendant.
Yeah, if it's not, then he has to go back to Hera, basically.
And take down our friend Mold Stare. And
there
it is! And Swerb is gonna get out of here and head over to Misery Mire.
So at 1 hour, 43 minutes, and a little about 30 seconds, he's in go mode. He has to finish Mire, and then just a clear of Turtle Rock away from Ganon's Tower. As DaringRetreat picks up his crystal, likely will head... He's going to have to head over to Ice Palace here shortly.
Well, he still has a few things he could check over, I think.
Yeah, he could also do the flipper checks as well.
Well, he will definitely need to get to that island to pick up his shovel in order to get his ether medallion.
And if he just mirrors right on the island, that will actually be good for him. Looks like that's what he might do.
He'll grab his shovel and probably jump and run from our friend the Chain Chomp. And there's his shovel. Run!
Meanwhile, Swerb is playing his flute through mire.
Sometimes you just need a little extra music to make it through the seed. And still needing to come in here and grab the big key after choosing to leave most of this dungeon unfinished after finding his hookshot.
I don't think those enemies got randomized.
No, sometimes it does roll vanilla, as DaringRetreat is going to head toward the Waterfall of Wishing, and then we hope for their sake, Ice Palace. Part of me still wants to know what Mold Stair was holding on to this whole time. And DaringRetreat is going to throw our bottle into the fountain to see what we get for a free refill. Green potion. Not not what you're hoping to find when you've already holding on to half magic, but you won't turn it down. And DaringRetreat takes their whirlpool back, likely heading into Ice Palace so they can find their Cane of Samaria.
So this race, despite DaringRetreat's early struggles and after all the checks that of them have made, this is not that far different. And depending on how Turtle Rock and GT go, this could still go either way.
Definitely the big key location in Ganon's Tower could swing this race in either direction if our runners diverge from each other's paths.
Of course, actually, now thinking about it, the difference is Daring did not check Shovel Spot before coming in here, so he might finish Ice.
Interesting to note, but it is something to keep in mind. He will have to check that double spot in order to get into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, so I guess it's not as close as I was trying to make it look. Swerb still has a pretty significant lead, but it's far from over.
Alright, and we have some Armos Knights in the slime.
Now this actually makes it a little trickier because you can't go into the slime area because you'll take damage. So you gotta kill him from the south side.
Just a little bit slower, but shouldn't give him too much hassle. My other thought is, would it bring DaringRetreat a little bit further in, say, if Saucer Hollow was holding on to the silver arrows with the green pendant?
Maybe a little, but I don't know if it's enough by itself.
Alright, and with that, it looks like Swerb should be heading right up to Turtle Rock. As Daring finds out, gets a nice reminder of where he found his first glove in the Kakariko well. Now there is still a fair amount of execution ahead of us, and we still have to figure out what is going to be in the Trinex spot. Now with Swerb's equipment, should not give them too much trouble. We'll be curious to see what is in the Cold Stair location for DaringRetreat. Would you wager a prediction what's hiding in that spot?
What haven't we seen that could be fun? We haven't seen a Vitreous yet. So why not a Vitreous?
Eyeballs on ice!
So Mikan in chat is having some fun with this. We had mold stare, and now he wants to see cold molas.
I can definitely appreciate that, as those ropas give Swerb just a little bit of hassle as he's trying to lift up that rock. And DaringRetreat will be finding their big key in a moment. And here's we head into Turtle Rock. Yes, Cyclone, I have seen Trinex on ice. It's painful. Alright, and there's our first small key, so we should be heading on a decent path here for Swerb, trying to find our big key and get ourselves into where the Trinex spot is. As that Hokuboku gets to bounce on nothing over there.
And Daring should be getting close to picking up his cane of Samaria.
Looks like he may be setting up to bomb jump over this pit. Doesn't quite make it, but he's holding onto the big key, so I'd imagine he'd probably check the big chest now and find his cane.
Which will be his third item, so he can go straight to Cold Stare.
Alright, he plummets in.
Nope, he's gonna check Iced Tea Room, but don't know if he counted his items. I'm pretty sure he has all three.
Swerb makes their way just further back into Turtle Rock. And that's a Gibdo. Oh, this room is relatively tame.
Yep, Swerb just grabs his key and heads out.
Really hoping to not find the big... Really hoping that the big key is not in its vanilla location. Or did he already grab it?
Yeah, he already had grabbed it, because if you haven't got it by that chest, then it's in its vanilla location. But he's not going to check the big chest for a potential small key in there.
Just gonna hold on to that key, though. The silver arrows are still at large.
Nope, didn't need that extra key. He doesn't have to do Laser Bridge today.
Definitely a very kind Turtle Rock after all the unkindness that this seed has shown our runners. That's a rolling bar in the Dark Maze.
And unfortunately, it knocks Swerb off script here. And this is where deciding not to pick up that red mail could really be coming to haunt Swerb, as you watch his health just go down further. And we've got another Armos at Cold Stare.
Some Icemos Knights for us all. Three more arrows, down goes the Icemos Knights, and there's the Pendant of Courage for DaringRetreat. Now we do know that what he needs to do is go take that shovel that he found and dig up the Ether Medallion to find himself into Go mode. As of once again upstaged by Chad, as I do like that Cold Knights.
Alright, what does Swerb get to deal with at the Trinex spots?
As DaringRetreat takes an arrow refill, and that's blind. And that's a free fight.
Pretty much.
Alright, so as he takes down Thief, I think that's our last crystal. I think that means we need to do something soon.
Yep, once Swerb has it down, we can start this game.
Oh, we get to play a game after all this?
Yes, it's a sub-game within the game. And it's also kind of a sub-game as well.
Alright, so I'll go ahead and explain it for you all. There are 22 locations in Ganon's Tower that the Big Key could be hiding. If you have subscribed to any of the 6 speed gaming channels or made a donation of 250 bits or more, you can gain access to our Big Key guessing game. If you have supported, you will get it correctly, you will get a chance on our leaderboard and earn our everlasting love and affection. Get your guesses in now, as we do not have a lot of time. And down comes the bridge. Get those last few guesses in. You don't have a lot of time.
And we see Swerb go left to start. And there's a blue rupee.
And a thank you to you, Kiko1 with the Twitch Prime sub. I absolutely destroyed that.
There's chest 2, chest 3, chest number 4, and chest 5. And Swerv's gonna go right.
Yep, so I forgot to ask you, what is your typical guess?
I usually go chest 15.
I'm a 17 myself. And that's a thing.
I don't know what that thing is, but it doesn't look like it should exist.
I think it's a mimic by the way it's moving.
But that was 6 and 7.
This room definitely a little more kind without the Gibdos hanging out.
The DaringRetreat's been working through Mire. Gonna face another Armos Knights here.
Armos Knights have definitely been the story of Seed, as that's kind of an irritating location for a fire bar.
That's kind of the story of the GT climb. That's kind of an irritating location for everything you find.
Alright, here comes 8, 20 rupees, 9, the butter sword, 10, 20 rupees, and 11, the compass. Go ahead and steal our key, and we're going to head back to the left. Or...
Actually, Swerb might go full right. If he can stop falling down the pits. So this is an interesting play. You're basically hoping at this point it's on whatever's behind Ice Armos, which means you have to fight the boss at Ice Armos. Will our feared Trinex on ice happen?
As we near the late hours, I think I lost my number. We should be on, what, 12 coming up?
Let's see. We had 5, 6, 7... Yeah, we'll be on 12.
Perfect. And it looks like DaringRetreat is going to follow that hint. Oh, look, the Book of Medora. Looks like we're finally going to see what that unique item was hiding in the pyramid. And that's a cold stare.
This is still kind of an annoying boss to fight because you don't actually fight the original cold stare on ice.
But with the butter, ooh. Don't you wish you had red mail? Alright, and down goes cold stare. 13 through 15 coming up. That's interesting. 13, piece of heart. 14, 20 rupees. 15, the Ganon's Tower big key. And once we catch up here, we will see who our winner is today.
So, meanwhile, that unique item in the pyramid was Quake. A medallion, but not the one you want.
And congratulations to Osmuddy Games with the correct answer of 15. Let's get you saved and put up on the leaderboard. Congratulations to you.
So at this point for Swerb, it's just a GT climb, and, well, with Randomizer, this isn't a given, especially at 2 hearts.
As DaringRetreat is just gonna keep checking those overall locations to try to find that Ether Medallion, though he was already pretty close. He just needed to go dig up with that shovel.
This is a pretty nasty room, but there is an anti-fairy. If you can powder it, nope.
Not gonna happen. And down goes Swerb.
So, gonna make another climb here. Luckily, that death will not cost him much time.
Still has a sizable lead as DaringRetreat heads into the King's Tomb and still will not find their Ether Medallion, though they desperately need to get into Turtle Rock. How much longer will it take them to find their way to the shovel spot? And now we're heading over toward the witch. Alright, betcha we're gonna see finally Catfish checked for DaringRetreat. And also seeing what potions they have.
Yep, just making sure his potions are in good shape. He's got one of each. I don't know if he... It's interesting he hasn't gone back to check for the shovel spot yet. After getting that, I mean, the shovel's a quicker check than this.
Could be one of those things that kind of slips your mind after you, especially when you open your inventory and just don't see it right away.
That's true, it is behind the flute.
And it looks like Swerb is going to go ahead and duck down to the refill room. Grabbing both fairies and feeling pretty good. Alright, Daring, flute to 4. That's 5.
Yeah, I don't think he's turned in the green pendant yet.
Now we'll see what he's been holding on to. The silver arrows are still at large. It's clearly Susserhala doesn't want anyone on their lawn with the anti-fairies and BMO statues. And there are the silvers.
Alright, so we know Swerb will have to do a silverless Ganon fight here.
And there's the flute to 4. I think he's gonna go to the shovel and finally find his way into go mode. And there we have some desert knights.
Is that our 4th Armos in this seed?
Just about.
Well, it's gonna be our 4th and last. They can't be at the Moldorm 2 spot.
And there is the Ether Medallion. And with 2 hours and 4 minutes, that puts DaringRetreat into go mode. And he's gonna head up toward Turtle Rock.
So at this point, it's still pretty much Swerb's race to lose. But like I said, the GT climb is not a given, especially in Randomizer.
Well, he's almost on his way. He's made it up farther than he did the first time. And all things considered, these enemies have not been as terrifying as they could be. That's just kind of annoying.
Let's see what's guarding the torches here.
Oh, I was really hoping for a large spike trap.
That was pretty anticlimactic.
Just a single blue barry. As those Lionels give DaringRetreat just a little bit of a hassle. What have we got in here? Just an enemy that can't do a whole heck of a lot because they're stuck.
And I'll say Swerb's not going to check for the silvers, but he only came up here with one key. Lucked out though that there was a key in the chest he checked.
And grab some bombs there. I'm making just 1 or 2 checks for that, and that's a cold stare.
So we had 4 Armos and 3 cold stares in this seed. And we never got to see Mothula or Vitreous.
I was really hoping for those eyeballs on ice. And almost gets set down. And we'll check on Cold Stare's last possessions, and it's just a heart. Interesting to note that both places that were Moldorm turned out to be Cold Stare. And that's a BMO statue, right in the way.
Well, our enemy randomization is basically over at this point. It's pretty much vanilla the rest of the way.
Alright, and it's anyone for tennis? Let's head on into Aga 2. Was that 2 or just 1?
I think that might have just been 1.
Almost getting a triple. Just barely missing that. And gets a blue ball there. And another blue ball. As the clones have gotten off sync. And down goes Agadim, and we're heading down to the Big Pig.
The Swerb, I don't know if he has anything for recovery, but he has the gold sword. And he has half magic. So, not the worst situation to be in here. I think he does have a blue potion from Catfish, actually.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And I think that's a bat?
Yeah, that kind of looked like a bat that turned into some dark enemies that crashed into the temple. I don't know.
It turned into a couple of Babasu, and let's see. And Ganon with the facts for us. Our first 3 phases should not give us much trouble. It's only in phase 4 where we are going to miss our silver arrows. Ooh, try to shot out of that and takes a hit from the bat. One more hug in any form, and they would be on their way down. As we dance our way through Ganon. One more set of teleports left. And he decides to be kind as we start the silverless portion of this fight. Unfortunately, Swerb did not find the arrows in Light World Goes, and manages to get that torch glitch, which is very handy if you're going to attempt to sort silverless fight. Now, how many spins is it with the gold sword, Brewer, or JP?
It's still 12 spins, because there's no damage above gold sword damage, and when you're spinning with tempered sword, it's technically gold sword damage.
Good to know.
He's handling this pretty well.
Silverless Ganon, turn, turn, turn. Still plenty of magic to work with to keep those torches lit.
Should be nearly done at this point.
Just be careful not to take a hit from one of those fire bats. And there's the big pig down! Get your GGs in chat as the fanfare plays. We wait for the bridge for descent, as it appears that Swerb has won this race. And crossing the finish line, I can report that Swerb has finished this race in first place with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 52 seconds. GG to Swerb. Should hopefully be joined by Swerb in a moment. What are your thoughts at the end of that seed there, JP?
I mean, that was pretty rough on them, especially early. They didn't get a lot of safeties until later, and that definitely hurts. But, I mean, overall, once they got going, they were able to get to this seed pretty well.
Definitely an interesting choice of the Chaos Boss Shuffler, as we saw a blind in a not great place, and then a blind here in the try-next spot, which is a whole lot of nothing.
And yes, now we get, if you look on Swerve's side, you will see the nightmare that is the Randomizer end credits.
I hope you weren't planning on sleeping anytime soon, because these things will haunt your dreams. And down goes Blind in try-next spot as DaringRetreat is going to head their way into Ganon's tower. Still waiting to find out if we'll be joined by our runners here shortly. In the meantime, we can focus on the tower climb. And we are now joined by Swerb. GG's to you.
Thanks.
Alright, so first off, just a general thought on that seed and how it played out?
As a whole, I kind of like the seed. It was a little bit weird. It's just like I've been playing so much hard mode that, especially early on, I wasn't kind of used to taking safeties, and so there's like that blind in Skull Woods, which is like a bad place for blind, actually, as it turns out. And I didn't really think of using like fairies or like any safeties for the first couple attempts, and so I was kind of worried for a while that like I might have lost a lot of time there.
It was interesting to see you passing up on some of the safeties, especially as we got later on.
Oh yeah, I heard you. I caught the last 20 minutes. Trying to shame me for not taking that stupid red mail.
We were just curious, that's all. I'm definitely not at your caliber. I would be clamoring for that red mail.
Hey man, I have it on good authority, from the word of Link's uncle himself, that red mail is for cowards.
Well, count me a coward. Alright, moving on into that, and let's see, other things to ask you about. How about that cold stairs on the Landmo spots? Or the, Moldorm spots?
Let's see, okay, the one in Tower of Terror I was, like, legitimately super worried about. Because obviously, that had the second item in Tower of Terror.
Yeah, interestingly enough, both you and your opponent skipped it.
Yeah, obviously I would have preferred to kill him and then, you know, have that peace of mind and confirm what was there. Because there was that hint that there's I think there's a heart container in the basement.
Yes.
So I knew what that was, but then I knew the second item was on Cold Stare. And I went in without too much health, and I died. And I just decided it wasn't worth going back up, because the hook shot, I was like, man, I gotta follow this hook shot. So that's why I went up there in the first place, was like, check hook shot cave. And that's why I went to desert from there, because I was like, oh, you know, I found Argus in desert. I couldn't kill him because I didn't have the hook shot. Let's go there. And then that turned out to be like 10 arrows, and so I was like, well, I made my bet, I'm gonna lay in it. I refuse to go back to Hera.
Yeah, interesting, as neither of you did decide to go back to that spot. Thankfully for Daring Retreat, and I guess the other question is, the Ether Medallion on that shovel. You dove that pretty much directly after you found it. It had to have felt good. That was one of the items that kind of sent both of you in different directions.
Yeah, watching the last 20 minutes, I saw that he didn't check it for a while. For me, it was like, I was like, it was late enough. It was kind of like a suspicious time to find a shovel. I was like, I gotta follow up on this. It's a really quick check. Rather than diving all these other dungeons and like checking these other things. And then I was thankful it was Ether Medallion. Because that meant I still needed Cane of Samaria. And at that point, that pretty much only left like Ice Palace or something unfortunate like that Tower of Hera boss.
Definitely that cane was that last big item that both of you were really looking for. JP, any input on this one?
I mean, it's definitely was an interesting seed. I mean, I felt like watching you, it just seemed like you were, I don't want to say trying to be a risk taker, but you definitely pushed past some safeties that an Randomizer seed probably would have been a little nicer to pick up. I mean, were some of that just you felt behind, or some of that just you trusted your own execution to get you beyond it?
I mean, outside of Red Mail, what are you talking about?
Like, I guess, like, you didn't pick up potions, or occasionally didn't take the extra ferry, things like that.
I feel like that's a fair point. Like I said, I've been playing a lot of hard mode, so I wasn't really thinking about safeties. And I was probably a little bit overconfident because there's definitely instances where it would have come in handy because I was playing kind of recklessly. But no, most of the times I was just like, I don't really need this. Like, Red Mail is probably the only one that I was kind of like, I probably should have picked that up because it would have taken like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. Yeah, I mean, just looking at how the seed played, it almost played a little linear, especially early on. Now, actually, something we noticed on Daring's side is he tried to dip pod early and got rejected due to money, which money was pretty scarce for you guys early. Did you think about pod early as well, but then after checking pyramids, kind of nope out because you noticed your money situation?
Yeah, actually, okay. The money thing was a little bit weird because I can't even remember the last time I had to farm money for Zora. Like, I feel like it's been like several versions of the randomizer since like I've had to do that. As for checking pod, I'm sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as for checking pod, I just felt like there was kind of better options, like, because I did have the hammer and I did have the bow, but the lamp was still at large, and at that point I was kind of just trying to follow the logic.
That's fair enough.
And then coincidentally, the lamp ended up being in pod. It's largely just like the dark rooms in Randomizer can be a little bit intimidating. Although I guess pod isn't that bad because most of the outside of the dark maze, you have lamps you can light, and I had the fire rod at the time. But that's also why I was like, oh, I have the fire rod, I can go to Skullwoods, I can go do Thieves Town because I have the hammer. I was like, I can go do these dungeons and fully clear them. And they're in logic right now, so I'll go do those first.
That's fair. Also, how about that South Shore?
Oh, with all the rollers? That was a nightmare.
The rollers and chain chomps. Don't forget those.
Yeah, I felt really bad for dying there. I was like, oh god, like, cause like, for me, like any death kind of early on is just like kind of a red flag that like you could already be starting to lose the lead, or like falling behind, not even losing the lead, like just falling behind.
And it definitely was a grueling jog through to get to the Ice Rod Cave to find a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. But like at that point, that's especially when I was like, I need to follow the logic because I was like on the way to the Eastern Palace boss and I died, which sucked. But I was also like, well, that's out of logic, so I'm not gonna like go back there. It's not worth it. And things were kind of pointing towards Zora with the gloves, but I really just didn't want to farm that money. Like I said, it's been so long since I felt like at least it feels like it's been so long since I had to farm money just for Zora, and having to go to like that desert cave to do it. So I was like, well, let's go check like these other locations first. And that's all I wanted to go to South Shore, but then all the rollers and stuff, and I was like, okay, we're not doubling back to Fake Flipper because just getting to this part of the map was a nightmare.
And speaking of flippers, how did it feel when you finally found those flippers hiding out in Cave 45?
That was actually definitely like the biggest point where I felt like I was behind. Because at least for me, like that was open for a long time. It was just kind of like the way I routed, like I just kind of routed around it. So at any point to go check it was literally just to go check that one location. And that's why I put it off for so long. And then I found it and I was like, well, if this was played different, like just not even like majorly differently, just like a little bit different, my opponent could have found that a lot sooner.
I just like to point out the very excellent quick kill on the cold stare for Daring Retreat as he's going to head up toward Agate 2. And as we get close to the end there, looking forward to the tournament, this now puts you at 2-4. Do you have any races coming up in the near future?
Not at the moment. Just kind of the way things work out. Is like I tend to have to do them on the weekends. But this week after next, I have totally free, so I'm hoping to squeeze out as many as possible.
And with that record, how do you feel going toward your chances of making it out of the group stage?
I mean, to be honest, not great, but at the same time, I wasn't really expecting to. Like, obviously, so a huge part of like this tournament, especially this group phase, is there's a lot of matches, and when you consider kind of the rando community at large, how spread out people are, like all throughout the US, people in South America, people in Europe, there's like a lot of time zones, like scheduling can be very difficult. So the thought of like scheduling 15 matches in like 6 weeks kind of intimidated me. And so like I did the qualification, like the qualifier races, just to see if I could qualify. I wasn't necessarily planning on moving on to the group stages, but then I was like, you know what, whatever, like we'll just do it.
All right, and Daring Retreat is heading in toward the Ganon fight. Once again, GG to you, Swerb. Any final thoughts before you take off, or choose to hang out for a while?
Not in particular. Just like thank you guys for doing commentary. It's always appreciated.
Yeah.
And I would like to wish DaringRetreat best of luck in his future matches.
Yep. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for racing for us here today. So yeah, let's make sure to give another GG to Swerb as we've watched DaringRetreat finish up his race. He does have silvers, so this will be a bit easier for him.
And if you're curious, Swerb, the silvers were hiding behind the green pendant.
Oh yeah, I saw that. With it was Armus Knights in that fight, right?
Yep. A lot of Armos Knights in that seed. As there's the second arrow for Daring.
You did get your wish, no ice Trinex.
Yeah, that was nice. I also did like I didn't do the same settings, but I did a practice seed before this. That was like hard, Randomizer, swordless. And it was like 5 Vitreises, and it was the worst thing in the world.
That does not sound like fun at all.
Because like with swordless, the hammer is not super great against Vitreous. And so it's just like all bombs and normal arrows.
Alright, and as the fanfare plays, DaringRetreat has slain Ganon and will cross the bridge and finish this race. Get your GGs as DaringRetreat has finished in second place with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 45 seconds. GG DaringRetreat.
And then looking at chat, it looks like DaringRetreat's actually not going to join us for an interview. He's said he's going to join in chat though, so if he's in chat now, you can talk to him.
All right, and as we get toward the end, any final thoughts on how this all played out?
This is, I'd say, an interesting seed. I mean, the early rupee starvation definitely was tough on these runners. But, I mean, once, like I said, I think it was kind of a linear seed overall in the end. You were kind of forced from one spot to another. You're forced to Zora to get the Moon Pearl, then you were forced into the Pod Dip to get the Mirror Lamp and Titan's Mitts. And then, let's see, where'd that really force you? It kind of forced you up to Death Mountain to get the flutes, into Meyer to get the hook shots. I'm trying to actually think, was Meyer a required double dip? I don't think it was.
Did you really break it down? Not really. Actually, if you had actually thought to grab those flippers out of Cave 45 and head straight to Ice Palace, which most runners probably weren't going to do.
Yeah, the hook shot itself didn't lead to anything.
It was just needed to get into the backside of Swamp.
Yeah, and then in terms of pendant dungeons, I think you only had to dive ice. I think Desert and Hera were empty.
Yeah, total bust on both of those. As we look forward, tomorrow there is another full day of randomizer for you if you want to look at the schedule. Still plenty more of this fall tournament to go around as each runner needs to finish 15 races. Any final thoughts to send us away there, JP?
Don't think so. I think we've pretty much covered everything. It's a very interesting race. Randomizer is always fun to watch and kind of fun to commentate. We'll give a quick shout out to our tracker, Mind of Me, for tracking for us. And thanks as well for joining me on commentary, Bungeed.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, JP. Make sure if you got the time to get these runners to follow, they put on a great show for you. There's plenty of more action coming up tomorrow and in the coming weeks. Please feel free to put those follows on Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 236, as well as the Link to the Past Randomizer channels. I am Bungie to the Tree, and I'm wishing you a great night. And please, no ice Trinex.